Hello and welcome to our final episode in this special series in association with Standard Life. Once again, I'm joined by Mark Baldwin and Andy Brown. Before we start the episode, Andy, do you want to give us background into yourself? And then Mark, you can hop right in and do the same.
Great, yeah. My name's Andy Brown. I'm Head of Fund Solutions for Standard Life. My job is to interpret the marketplace and turn that into investment solutions for clients. I've been doing it for X number of years.
Yep.
And as I approach a big point in my life, it's become much more focused on thinking about what retirement looks like.
Okay. And Mark?
I'm Mark Baldwin. I'm head of Smooth Managed Funds. I run the proposition that manages those funds in market and also the distribution of those funds to advisors and through to clients.
Okay, fantastic. So in this episode, we are going to talk about how product design, specifically smooth funds, can act as behavioral insurance, stopping knee-jerk reactions to events like political volatility and bridging the gap between annuities and drawdown. So, Andy, you have described staying invested as a way of protecting us from ourselves. That is quite a powerful phrase. So why are we our own worst enemies when the market starts to become volatile?
I think we are our own worst enemies, but it's getting worse. And I think that's because of the more immediate ability that everyone has in the palm of their hand to make a choice. We can go into a trading app on our phone and we can get into or out of the market. And it's been a great thing. The technological advances we've had in the industry through platforms and tools and so on has been fantastic. It's reduced friction. Problem with reducing friction is it means that it's very, very easy for you to react to something, to a stimulus that you see on the television or from a conversation with your friends or from a news headline or something. You can react to it straight away and go, oh my God, I need to do something. You whip out your phone and you hit a great big red sell button and bang, you're out of the market and you leave yourself open to everything that can happen in between. You sell low and you buy high, which people have been telling us for years that's not the best way to do it. So creating a friction to give people the opportunity to think about it or to ask more questions, I think is a great way to help people stay invested for longer. And so some of those methods of frictions have been with us for years. Diversification is a great method of friction, mixing your assets in the right shape to ensure that one headline that has an impact on equity markets doesn't just pull everything down, and one headline that has an impact on bond markets doesn't just push everything back up, but ensuring that you're somewhere in the middle and you've got that kind of smooth outcome. And I think the more tools you can use to help smooth that outcome is valuable. I mean, not just the mix of assets, but where you're holding those assets, who's holding those assets, the approach that they're taking to investing money, and even where there are opportunities to use things like insurance policies in the same way that we insure our car, we insure our house, we even insure our lives and our income, we insure our health. And why can't we do that to insure some of those risks and mitigate some of those risks from our wealth creation period? Yeah.
And Mark, the AKG research shows that 80% of advisors think their clients have strong emotional reactions to market news or volatility. When we see headlines about things like Trump tariffs or the war in Iran and the Middle East or any other geopolitical shock, do you see a spike in clients wanting to pull the ripcord?
Sure. Well, I think just coming back to some of the points that Andy raised, the access to the information, the data, the news reports, everything is a positive thing.
Okay.
It supports clients being engaged in the journey.
Okay.
But it's a bad thing in the sense that it can create the wrong behaviors. And we've lauded clients to have engagement for many, many years. So we don't want to take that away. We need clients engaged with the financial plan. We need them engaged with the funds, the solutions that they're using to plot their journey, whether it's through retirement or whether it's towards retirement. So it's important. Do we see them pulling the ripcord? I mean, we don't at Standard Life, we don't witness that directly in that truest sense. But what we do recognize is that different people will have different reactions and responses to the same scenarios. What we're trying to do, and what Andy's spoken about, is to ensure that we can give people a little bit more composure take the anxiety away. And smooth funds are a great way of delivering that to that client. The piece to add, and builds on the conversations we've been having in the previous podcasts, is that we need advisors to lean into that as well and to make that connection with their clients. So it isn't about a smooth fund being a solution for a customer per se, but if an advisor understands more around the emotional reaction and the behavioral traits of their clients, smoothing could be a good way of a client being able to see those headlines, the Trump tariffs, to use your example, but not feel they need to intervene or take a reaction. That friction that Andy talks about is important in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. And Andy, you talk about insurance or smoothing, not just as a financial mechanism, but as a behavioral one. You call it a guardrail. How does a smooth fund actually change the client's emotional experience when those market shocks happen? And does it lower the blood pressure? Because that's another thing we need to worry about as we get older.
It's a big problem to worry about. It's not just about reducing the salt in your diet.
Yeah. So, cortisol levels. I'm learning a lot lately.
Yeah. It's a kind of real focal point for a lot of clients is that they can see and have seen the benefits of diversification for many, many years, decades even since the theory was first investigated, created, and papers produced for that from going back to the 1950s and 1960s. The next layer along is when we start to see many more events that happen in financial markets on a more regular basis. Up until me joining the industry, I knew little. Back in 1989, I had been a cop. I was kind of sitting there thinking, well, if I can't solve a problem by pulling out my truncheon and hitting somebody over the head and taking them off to jail, then it's hardly a problem, is it? Once you start to become more aware of the things that can happen that can have an impact on your future, you start to worry about those things. And I think the insurance policy can help you take those out. I use the analogy of insuring your car. You know, the first time I bought a car, I suddenly had this realization that this is probably the most expensive thing that I've ever bought. It was £20,000. I loved the car.
Yeah.
But if I crashed that car, it was possibly going to cost me £2,000, £3,000, £4,000. I didn't have £2,000, £4,000. That insurance policy. That's why my dad always bought his insurance policy, because I thought it was a monk's game. I'm saying, why did you buy that, Dad? You know, somebody crashes into you, they'll pay. The problem is that everything that happens between you crashing the car and getting somebody else to pay. So the concept of insurance wrapped around your multi-asset portfolio is a good one, because it's another entity, it's an organisation who's saying, okay, when that bad things happen, when your portfolio takes a dent, we're going to put in some of that money. Might not be all the money, it might not bring it right back up to where it should be. However, we're going to share that risk with you. And that's the premium you're paying, is for that risk sharing. It's in the same way that you share the risk of death or ill health or loss of income or damage to your house or damage to your car or so on. So I think the insurance concept, allied to the diversification concept, actually gives clients something else that allows them to take a little bit more breathing space and take a little bit more time to pick up the phone to their advisor and say, okay, I've seen this thing, what should I be doing? And I think the regulator has kind of moved towards that kind of line of thought as well, that with Consumer Duty, we as a provider have to say, this is who our product fits. An advisor has to look at it from the other end and say, I've got a customer, which products fit that customer? And that's very much behavioural driven. Most multi-asset funds will do the same thing. They'll all provide a return at some point in the future. Hopefully they're all broadly in the range of kind of 6, 7, 8% per annum over a 20, 30, 40-year period. But it's the journey that's really important. And that's where the insurance comes in. It just creates that little bit more secure journey, which can fit a lot more kind of risk-aware, risk-averse clients.
And Mark, the AKG report suggests there is a gap in the market for a middle ground, something between the rigidity of an an annuity. It's very difficult to say that. And the roller coaster of total return. Do you think smooth funds are finally filling the gap for the clients who knows they need to grow but are terrified of the drops?
I mean, firstly, smooth funds absolutely have a part to play in retirement journeys. The key is we know that clients want freedom and they want certainty. A plethora of research will point to that same fact continually year on year. Where smooth fund come in, as Andy said, is it's more about still delivering that return, still a multi-asset fund in its construct and design, but giving those people that may have the anxiety, the low financial composure, giving them the breathing space, giving them the ability to take a step back, not to intervene, not to make the wrong decisions at the wrong time, but to stay the course. We know that it is important, particularly over the medium to long term, that through a drawdown retirement journey, clients need to be invested in growth assets. They need risk on the table. Otherwise, the risk of running out of money becomes far more prevalent and amplified. Smooth helps them be in that environment, but without, as you refer to it, those significant drops in markets that create that emotional reaction and create the wrong behaviors. That's the important part that smooth funds can play in managing a retirement journey using drawdown.
Okay. And Andy, you mentioned that these funds can enhance client relationships. Is that because the advisor spends less time talking to a panicked client and rather is talking about what their actual goals are?
Yes, I mean, the most important thing I think an advisor can do is help the client work towards their goals. Smooth products can help deliver a much easier journey without reducing returns, but just make the client feel a bit more engaged, a bit more secure in the journey. And excuse me. Equally, I think that when we're trying to put together the right mix of products for a client, we have to be very aware that where those products are likely to be counted on, or the results of those products are likely to be counted on at a time, and it's not likely that they're going to be the must-have monthly income. It's much more likely it's going to be this is the top-up, this is the nice-to-have, this is the holiday fund or replacing the car fund or so on. And then at the very end of that product, you've got this is the money for the long term, this is your estate planning, your preservation, and so on. So I think it's important to recognise where smooth funds can fit in that, and in reality, it's the bulk in the middle of those portfolios.
Okay. And to wrap up, this is a question for both of you, so jump in whenever you want to. But Andy, you did ask the question, how can you ensure your life savings against adverse situations? So if you had to give advice to an advisor listening who is dealing with a nervous client right now, is the answer about changing the portfolio or changing the conversation? Which one would you go for?
I'll jump in with changing the conversation.
Yeah.
Understanding exactly what makes a client nervous, if that's a word that can be used. Trying to dig into, is it an experience that they've let's face it, most people my age at this point in time are probably very worried because they've just gone through something with their own parents. Their own parents have saved for retirement. They might have had a defined benefit scheme. They might have been lucky enough to be part of that one. But then they're faced into some real health problems. It could be Alzheimer's related. It could be long-term care related, and so on. And they've realised that whilst they relied on the bank of mum and dad when they were younger, their mum and dad are relying on the bank of them.
Yes.
So the conversation needs to be about why they feel the way they feel. Is it a personal experience? Is it their neighbour, their friend? Is it what they've read? So I think it's conversation based and really trying to get to the bottom of what it is that's causing concern.
It has to be change the conversation. It isn't change the portfolio. I mean, that's very clear. As we spoke earlier, previous podcast, 84% of advisors recognise the most effective plan is the one that clients stick to. You know, let's not forget that fact that we've discovered through the report. So it is about changing the conversation. It's understanding the drivers. It's understanding the emotional reaction. It's It's understanding the behavioral traits of the client. Why are they wired this way? Why do they react in that certain way? This is the piece around elevating the conversation with clients away from the solution, the product, the tip of the iceberg aspects, and more below the line, what sits underneath all of that. Previous financial trauma, past experiences, values, purpose, all of those things.
Yeah.
The more advisors can understand those drivers and those behavioral traits, the more it is likely that they won't need to change the portfolio or even perhaps even change the conversation, because there'll be that connection around what is driving the client in that way, already predetermined.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining me for this conversation. As always, it was very enlightening. And for any further resources, please do look at our website, Money Marketing, and in the description bar below. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.